This is a soybean chart, okay? It's a daily time frame. It's probably nothing that you trade, but I'm going to show you how I go about determining what patterns I trade in a sort of higher level overview. This is not going to be the itty gritty stuff that you really probably want to know. This is going to be the bigger picture sort of stuff that is going to allow you to hold those trades longer because you understand what's happening in the market. Okay, so I apply something called chaos theory to the market and I use the patterns to do it. I'm going to show you how I do that. And you're going to probably have this light bulb moment, hopefully, like I did. So there's something called a Lorenz attractor. I'll toss an image up here for you. And if we turn this sideways so our time scales match up, we're going to see some similarities on how we draw in support and resistance. So this is going to be my area of support. And if you watch the video we've done on YouTube of it, we take the furthest tick, in this case, pip, whatever we want to use, go all the way up to where most of those candlesticks touch. Okay. So we're going to be looking at, these ones, a lot of these wicks we go through. We had a low here. We still kind of reversed. We came back down. This is our general area of support. And then we can do the same thing on the flip side when we're looking at resistance, and we're going to map in our resistance up here where most of those candlesticks touch. Okay. So we have our outer bounds and our lower bounds of that Lorenz attractor using the same sort of thing. And the reason why we know it's a Lorenz attractor is because we have this point of chaos between this area of support resistance. If we don't have that, then we don't really have what we're looking at, which is applying their Lorenz attractor to the market. And I'm going to show you why this makes sense in a sec. So what we need to do is we need to look for areas of support that are also areas of resistance that maybe have a lot of chaotic mess to them. So for instance, we can kind of see here we have, an area that was support all the way through here, these wicks over here. We also have some resistance, right? We have this one here. We have a bunch over here. It just seems like this area, I'm going to just draw a line through it. Again, it's going to be more or less a general area, but this is where it's kind of been support. It's been resistance a few times through here. I mean, we can kind of draw these arrows in so you can kind of see it. It's been support, a bunch of times through here, but this is where this is where we would have our least amount of probability right through this attractor. So if we know we have these outer bounds of the attractor and we can see that attractor in it, then I know where I want to be trading, which is going to be either at the point of resistance or the point of support. Okay. So if I was to load this up, it's going to be our indicator here, and we're going to load up the XABCD patterns. Okay, boom, there's our pattern. It's at an area of support. Now, as far as stops are concerned, I think I have a pretty good place and idea of where to put them. So if I had my position, we're just going to draw something hypothetically here. Which one is it? There we go. And it's going to be a stop, we'll say around 45. And that's going to be an entry point. I mean, I can go a little bit higher, but let's just say at 1180, I want to retest these lows and get in, sneak in there. That gives me a target of a 2-to-1 that is going to be right here. Now that's important because it's before my attractor. I shouldn't see a ton of difficulties trying to get priced up that high if we're going to reverse here. In a similar way that we haven't seen a lot of difficulties when we had price going up here or price going up here. We hadn't seen a whole lot of slowdown in price as it got closer to that attractor, but definitely when we got up to the attractor, we either go through it, we dance around it, we go above it, we respect it, we go below it. It's a bit of a chaotic mess. So we want to try and get that target off before that attractor. Now it's important that we look at time. Okay. So the green and the yellow areas are going to be a huge thing, making sure that we don't exceed or sneak into the red. If it takes that long, we don't want to do it. But if we're in the green or the yellow, then we definitely have those options. And of course, down here, you can see it says 81 bars, 27 bars, and 13 bars. So 81 is the size of the pattern. TTC is our estimated bars to completion, and the TTR is how many bars for a reversal. So this is going to be 13 bars to reverse, probably to get to break even, 27 roughly, of course, to hit targets is what we're looking at based off an 81 bar pattern. Now, this is, like I said, nothing that you probably trade, but let's apply it to something that is probably more easily applied. So the ES, and maybe we look at a 300 tick chart. Okay, so here we have a pattern here. Is this one that we should have traded? Well, there's a few things that we can look at, but let's back out and see if we can get a picture for it. We're not probably in a support resistance type range, but you can probably definitely draw it in as an attractor because you're going to be looking at it from a channel point of view. And again, where do we have areas of support, right? Areas of support, areas of resistance. We kind of bounce around all through here. You can see where you have those resistance pieces, where you have support, and it's almost like it's in the middle. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes what happens with an attractor is we bifurcate. So what you'll see is the attractor will start out like this, and then it will kind of go up and split. That's what we're kind of like talking about when we bifurcate. Usually low volume periods. Think like between Christmas and New Year's. Sometimes you can see that there. But that is what we're looking at staying away from. And what we want is those outer bounds. So where do we have the patterns that line up with either an area of support or resistance? Where am I? There we go. There's my position tool. And then we are looking at stops, let's just say at 50-20. And then our entry point can be anywhere inside there, but we want to try and get that 2 to 1 off before that attractor. So again, if you're drawing that in where you've had support and resistance and right through those zones, you can get an idea of where it is. Now our 2 to 1 is right here, that upper green area. That's where our 2 to 1 is. And that's not going to give us a whole lot of price, let's just say, bouncing off of anything. Like we have a pretty easy time following. And the nice thing about short patterns is they usually work out a little bit quicker. So when you look at your bar count, this is 89 bars, time to completion, 29. You have 14 bars for that to reverse on a 300 tick, probably more doable. Right now, again, time's important. We need to be in the green or the yellow. We cannot be in the red, as well as the edges of the pattern. You can see here, like when I draw a pattern manually, you see how some of those edges are white and they go from white to blue. So when they're all blue, you know you met your time requirements. And the nice thing about our software is we validate these pattern points. So how many bars of a lead up do you want for your X point? And that's why you get the clarity of the pattern itself. So if I get a pattern that is going to, let's just say, look like this, even if it was all, let's just say, blue bars and we had enough time built into the pattern itself, let's see how we can make this work. Okay. If I'm looking at a reversal area here, I'm not low enough. So I'm ignoring that pattern. So that is even without using our sonar tools and everything else that kind of show the frequency waves into the future. But, looking at these patterns, you know now which ones to ignore and which ones you want, right? So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we will see you in the next video in our members area or our live streams.